as decided in a previous session. And then we have, with this DIA, we would actually like to recommend consensus adoption. In Part B, we're looking at Rules 26 to 30 in the Rules of Procedure and Evidence of the ICC. These changes look at joint meetings on the study group on governance meetings concerning the operational aspects of the IOM. These proposed amendments to the rules are just one of the components of the discussions concerning Recommendation 8 of the Independent Expert Review. And as concerns the other ICC ASP24 L5, we consider that this taken together would work. At the end, the head of the Hague Working Group, having examined these discussions, agreed with the decision, and the same was true for New York. With the amended Rules 26 to 30 in the RPE, we feel that that this could be submitted to the Assembly for its proposal. We, in discussing these proposed amendments, had a very collegial and fruitful discussions with the Working Group on Governance, and over the last years, this has always been the case. It has been a pleasure to work as facilitator on these discussions. I should also like to take this opportunity, Madam President, to welcome the cooperative work between with the New York Working Group and with the Deputy Prosecutor Khan and all of those helping us in the New York Working Group. We also wanted to extend our thanks to the Registry for all of the work and also the Secretariat of the Assembly for their support. On behalf of the Working Group on amendments, we would respectfully submit that the document ASP24 L4 submission be approved by consensus. Thank you.
I thank you for introducing the draft resolution on the amendments to the Rules of Procedure and Evidence of the International Criminal Court. In addition, at this juncture, I propose that the Assembly take note of the report of the Working Group on Amendments contained in document ICC-ASP/24/26. I now invite the co-chair of the Study Group on Governance, Ambassador René Miko of the Czech Republic, and the facilitator for the review of the work on operational mandate of the Independent Oversight Mechanism, Ambassador Corinne Ciceron-Bühler of Switzerland, to introduce the draft resolution contained in document ICC-ASP/24/L5, titled Draft Resolution of the Assembly to implement recommendation R108 of the Group of Independent Experts. You have the floor.
Madam President, thank you for giving us the opportunity to take the floor. Excellencies, dear colleagues, it is with great appreciation that we introduce the draft resolution to implement recommendation 108 of the Group of Independent Experts before the Assembly today. This text, and especially its annexes, have come a long way. Through extensive consultations, careful technical work, and a shared commitment of all states parties to strengthening the integrity, transparency, and accountability of the ICC. As you will recall, our work stems from the 2020 report of the Group of Independent Experts, particularly recommendation 108. Some years were spent discussing the appropriate way to implement the said recommendation. Finally, the coordinator of the Hague Working Group decided to entrust the chairs of the Study Group on Governance and the IOM facilitation with the actual technical implementation at the beginning of this year. What started as a one and only joint session of the Study Group on the Governance and the IOM facilitation ended up in a successful collaboration over many months, with 5 joint meetings and even more informal consultations. These discussions were both complex and constructive, and in the end, they brought us to the comprehensive package now before the Assembly. In a nutshell, this draft resolution proposes the adoption of 3 key regulatory instruments, thereby complementing the draft resolution introduced just moments ago by the chair of the working group on amendments concerning the amendments to Rules 26 to 30 of the Rules of Procedure and Evidence. Madam President, with your permission, I will now pass the floor to the chair of the IOM Facilitation, Ambassador Corinne Cicéron-Bühler, to continue with our presentation.
Dans l'esprit de notre collaboration fructueuse,
Given our fruitful cooperation, I should now like to take over and briefly introduce these regulatory instruments. Firstly, we invite the Assembly to adopt the new terms of reference for the ad hoc group of experts, which should guide the way that we function if we so required. Secondly, the draft resolution offering amendments to the operational mandate of the IOM. It updates the overall framework so as to reflect the connection between this group of experts on the one hand and the new formalized procedure of due diligence that have been established by the IOM. And thirdly, the draft resolution introduces some amendments to the rules of procedure of the Assembly of States Parties, clarifying the procedures to be applied when the Bureau or the Assembly is called to handle a complaint coming from the conclusions of this ad hoc expert group. And this is not just a technical revision. It actually is a major step forward in bolstering the oversight structures, guaranteeing a formal procedure, and giving the institution the clearer tools for upholding codes of conduct. And this is a success that has only been possible thanks to the dedication, professionalism, and cooperation among major players. Allow me, first of all, to deeply thank the head of the IO, Mr. Sylvain Sana, and the court through the chef de cabinet, Mr. Hirad Abhati, for all of their unswerving commitment and wise advice. We also want to thank the Secretariat of the ASP, the 3 magic Gs, Gabrielle, Gaili, and Gabi, for their outstanding support throughout the process. And finally, allow me to express our deepest gratitude to the Czech Republic's legal advisors, Madam Petra Benisova, and from Switzerland, Mr. Jan Klavedece, whose patience and commitment have greatly contributed to the quality of the final work and the final output. Excellencies, this DR really is a chance to reaffirm our collective responsibility and strengthen governance responsibility and trust in the court. We want to extend our thanks to all delegations for their constructive way of working, and we submit this draft resolution to the Assembly, recommending that it be adopted by consensus. Thank you.
Thank you very much both for your introducing of this draft resolution. And we now turn to the draft resolution on the procedure and criteria for the waiver of the loss of voting rights contained in document ICC-ASP24/L6. I now invite the facilitator for budget management oversight, Ambassador Paul Teesalu of Estonia, to introduce this draft resolution. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. On behalf of the facilitator, Ambassador Teesalu, I am honored to present the draft resolution on the procedure and criteria for the waiver of the loss of voting rights contained in document ICC/ASP24/L6, which was discussed by the Hague Working Group under the Budget Management Oversight Subgroup. 7 meetings were held in 2025 to address this BMO topic. This resolution proposes that the Assembly, when evaluating a request submitted by a state party regarding a waiver of the loss of voting rights under Article 112, paragraph 8 of the Rome Statute, the Bureau may, if deemed necessary, and to complement the legal and political considerations, seek technical advice from the Committee on Budget and Finance to review financial and budgetary information provided by states parties on waiver requests. The resolution clarifies procedure if requesting and granting waivers from the loss of the voting rights, as illustrated in the annex to the resolution, and establishes criteria to guide the states parties in this process. Madam President, on behalf of the facilitator, I wish to thank all the delegations who worked on this resolution, and I submit this draft resolution for the consideration of the Assembly and hope it is adopted by consensus. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam, for your introduction of this draft resolution. We will now turn to the draft resolution on cooperation. I invite the co-facilitators for cooperation, Ambassador François Alabrun de France and Ambassador Ramatoulaye Parfait de Senegal, to introduce the draft resolution on cooperation contained in document ICC-ASP24/L8. You have the floor.
Merci, Madame.
Thank you, Madam President, distinguished delegates. It's an honor for me to speak on behalf of the ambassadors of the Republic of Senegal, Ramatoulaye Parfait, and of the French Republic, François Labrune, co-facilitators on cooperation, this DR on cooperation, ICC ASP/24/L8. By signing and then ratifying the Rome Statute, especially Chapter 9, we have committed ourselves to provide our help and support to the court so that it can live up to its mission for combating impunity for the most serious of crimes. This draft resolution reminds us of the importance of worldwide cooperation that is effective from the part of all state parties, other states, international organizations, as well as regional organizations, and of civil society. All this has been called to mind with strength during the plenary on cooperation, which has just ended. In this draft resolution, we have reaffirmed the importance of implementing arrest warrants, the integrity of the Rome Statutes and its inclusion in national legislation, the gelling or the freezing of funds, and cooperation agreements with countries in a context of increased risk, especially when it comes to cybersecurity and the IT systems of our court, as well as threats and coercive measures such as sanctions aimed at hampering its work. This draft resolution has once again reaffirmed with vigor the need for state parties to cooperate with the court to guarantee its safety as well as to protect its current and former staff. We added the resolution, with respect to the resolution from last year, a reference to the agreements that the court has had with states thanks to the work of the registry when it comes to resettlement of witnesses, but also when it comes to working with organizations such as Europol and Eurojust. And therefore, the prosecutor's office's work has also been mentioned, together with the Forum for Cooperation and Complementarity, especially on matters regarding migration, where the structural dialogue that has been set up with organizations from civil society has been particularly useful. I want to call to mind that France has contributed 30 million euros for the fund to strengthen the legal competencies and cooperation, of which 15,000 for the support to arrests and 15,000 for the organization of an event in Dakar on cooperation and complementarity. Just like last year, this resolution on cooperation also pays homage to the focal points that cover cooperation, that work sometimes in dangerous countries with modest means to help the court carrying out its investigations. Last but not least, the facilitators on cooperation present to state parties the idea of integrating to the draft resolution an additional paragraph that would cover the plenary session on cooperation that was held this morning, Thursday, 4th of December, a paragraph that I will read now. Congratulating ourselves on the plenary session on cooperation that was held during the 24th session of the ASP, and that was the opportunity for strengthened dialogue among member states, the court, and members of civil society on the ways and means in which cooperation can help the court to face the challenges it has. The discussions also highlighted the ways in which state parties could strengthen their support to the court, especially to help it to arrest suspects, protect witnesses and victims that require assistance and that deserve reparations. An urgent appeal is made to donations for the Trust Fund for Victims has been launched. I therefore present this draft resolution to you today, and it's been the result of consensus work in the Hague Group, as well as approval by the Bureau, the review by the Assembly, and we recommend it be adopted by consensus. I want to end by thanking the interpreters, as well as all the support provided by the Secretariat, Gabriel, Manuel, Fabiola, and Gabi, for their very precious help. Thank you, Madam President.
I thank you for introducing the draft resolution on cooperation. And distinguished delegates, we have heard the introduction of 5 draft resolutions of the 24th session. As the coordinator for the omnibus consultation indicated previously, there are a new draft will be coming out this afternoon, and if necessary, consultations will continue. But otherwise, we have introduced all the draft resolutions, and I wish the best at this stage for the work on the remaining draft resolution. We will convene the final plenary for adoption of the draft resolutions and the draft report of the Assembly at the earliest opportunity. I request you keep an eye on the journal and any messages that the Secretariat will send. If I see no further requests for the floor, this meeting is adjourned. I wish you a pleasant afternoon.